Hey y'all, what's up? It's Friday, so I'm gonna keep it black, but I'm gonna keep it brief. Florida, it's been a minute now, but once again, we on your ass. A nonprofit organization by the name of Hope and Help Center of Central Florida is under fire for discrimination, racism, and retaliatory actions against its marginalized employees. And what's wild, but not unexpected in the slightest, is that while they out here behaving like this to said marginalized employees, the org's mission requires direct interaction with vulnerable, underserved, and marginalized populations every day. Y'all remember our lovely substitute teacher at the Eric Lewis? Well, he's the one blowing this whistle, as up until a couple weeks ago, he himself was an employee at Hope and Help until he was wrongfully terminated for simply sticking up for himself and his co-workers in the face of good old boyism. Now, Eric used to serve as the syringe exchange linkage and volunteer coordinator at an org whose mission is to end the HIV and STI epidemic in Florida through comprehensive health, education, prevention, testing, and treatment. In his TikTok videos chronicling the ways in which he and others were systemically ousted from the organization, Eric runs down a list of infractions ranging from unprofessional to straight up racist and discriminatory. A member of leadership who is white walked up to Eric talking about, "Where's your master?" referring to his non-black supervisor. I know you lying. Talking about, "Ooh, are you scared of the chain link fence?" In what world are these the words coming out your mouth in the workplace? Anita Nunez, a Latinx trans woman who was basically forced to resign, was misgendered purposefully over and over again by a seasoned employee, a custodian with a 35-year tenure who knew he had to face zero consequences for his harassment. And when Anita went to HR about her mistreatment, asking for protection, HR backed the custodian by pulling out a Pope keychain. Claiming that the janitor cited religious beliefs as the reason he couldn't properly gender her. Boy, I tell you. But wait, there's more. Another co-worker attended a pro-Palestine protest during her pre-approved paid time off, minding her own damn revolutionary business in plain clothes. But somehow when she returned back to work, she received a final written notice of warning for her conduct outside of the workplace, even though she had never received any warnings for anything prior to this incident. But somehow, other people at the job had been vocal in their support for Israel in a company-wide group chat, and not only did they not face any consequences, but the executive director and HR was in there liking the messages. Now, the reason Eric was fired is because he came with receipts, screenshots, and documentation, voicing his and recently terminated employees' concerns. He sent a message about it to that same group chat, but he was kicked out. And after trying to receive support from HR and handle all this internally, Eric was terminated and treated like a threat to security and discarded. A person who cares about the work that they do, discarded from a program whose leaders are happy to turn away patients, happy to change the locks on the food pantry, and apparently got enough time on their hands to surveil the personal social media accounts of their employees and their in-house communications. And you can go watch the videos on the socials for yourself, and you should, to see how you can help. But what you'll see throughout is this boys club mentality and nepotism that left Eric and his co-workers completely vulnerable to their leadership's personal loyalties, affinities, and politics. Y'all watching season 6 of Love is Blind? You seen when asked about her politics, that girl said she was a patriot. Goodness gracious. But that she felt that politics didn't belong in most conversations. Huh? She also added that she only preferred to discuss her politics with like-minded people. Y'all, we simply cannot live like that. I don't know who lied to you or wanted to make it easier for you to believe that lie, that politics are restricted to the voting booths, but no. What happened to Eric and the people at Hope and Help is a walking, talking demonstration of how personal politics bleed into every facet of the everyday lives of everyday people. And now more than ever, Eric lives in Florida. And while I've heard the Floridians are banding together communally to combat the anti-black and anti-queer assaults from the people who currently hold their political seats, wherever political corruption is the norm or maladaptive beliefs are all but ubiquitous, it becomes increasingly more difficult for people like Eric to be protected. And unfortunately, these kinds of hostile work environments are not uncommon in nonprofits. For a sector where everybody is supposed to have the understanding that it's not about the money, the hostility is very much centered around the prospect of money, often funded by individual donations and grants from corporations and or government entities. Even for the most well-meaning nonprofit professionals, it can be difficult to focus on their mission and the people they seek to serve with integrity. Why? Because they are ultimately beholden to the values of said donors. In 2020, the nonprofit sector lost roughly 1.6 million jobs due to COVID. This meant that the need for nonprofit services increased exponentially while jobs, donations, and grant opportunities decreased dramatically. And in a lose-lose situation like that, it becomes easier to see how the survival of a nonprofit in an underserved community becomes dependent on the board and its major donors. And when big money comes into play, so too do the political allegiances and personal ideologies of the people who have it. And it doesn't stop there. The historically low salaries in the public sector stem from the fact that the only money coming in are from donations and grant funding, meaning that wages are low, teams are small, and everyone is meant to overwork while underpaid in the name of meeting the mission. However, more often than not, the higher up in nonprofits you go, the wider and wealthier it gets, where the administrators and coordinators tend to reflect the populations of the organizations that they serve. The directors, chief officers, and board members, well, simply do not. And it's the boards on these committees that are the ones approving the high salaries for the executive leadership. Now, H&H is the only syringe exchange in the state of Florida, so Eric and friends do not want to see it topple, they want to see it transformed. This means out with the old, in with the new, to the people who give a damn about people more than they do appearances can do what they need to do.